welcome to our Valentine's special episode on Questions in the Heart. How has your day been? Well, a few days ago we had this special love day, Valentine's Day. How was your Valentine's Day? Hope you had a great one and a very memorable one. But on a serious note, come to think of it, sharing love, expressing love, giving love to that special person in our life shouldn't be a once a year thing. It should be an everyday issue. And if you look at it critically, two people met, fell in love, love each other, there is this magical feelings they have. There is this love in the air. Their hearts pants and beat fast when the thought of each other came to mind. And a few years down the line, the magical feelings of love is gone. There comes in a struggle to really show that person you can't do without that you love them again. How can we then keep love alive? If love is meant to be eternal, if love is meant to be long-lasting, if love is meant to be a lifetime thing, how then do we keep it alive? How do we keep love alive? That's our topic tonight on Questions in the Heart. And guess what? I've got this special lady in the house who got married at the age of 16. She is 60 years old, and she's been married for 44 years. It's going to be 44 years next month, March. You really, really want to learn from her depth of knowledge tonight. And not only her in the house, I've got another cool-headed guy who has been married for 23 years to one person. Marriage can actually work. These two are examples, of the fact that marriage can work, of the fact that love can be long-lasting. We are live on www.questionsintheheart.com. Call all your friends and family members wherever they are in the world to log on to www.questionsintheheart.com. We are live on there. I'll go on a commercial break, and when I come back, we'll kick the ball rolling tonight on how to keep your love alive. Don't touch the dial. So staying with us. Well, Pastor Jan's been married for 16 years. For 44 years, got married at the age of 16. Very young, a teenager. She is still in love with that same person, that same man that she got married to 44 years ago. Good evening, Pastor Jan.
Good evening, Esther.
You want to say hi to God's people?
Yeah, God bless you. It's really good to be here, and it's not very often I get to talk about being married for such a long time, but for me it's natural, but I know that it's quite a feat for a lot of people. So yeah, it's good to be with you. It's good to be with Esther again. I really enjoy myself when I come on Questions in the Heart.
Oh, thank you. Welcome on the show one more time. Chris, you've been married for 23 years.
Yes.
And you're still in love with your partner.
Absolutely, yes.
Say
yes,
hi to
yes.
those people.
Hi, welcome. Lovely to be here tonight, and we look forward to just sharing in the love of Jesus together and helping one another tonight.
Nice having you on the show tonight. Let's keep the ball rolling. Pastor Jan, tell us briefly about your love life.
About my love life.
Yeah.
My husband is 8 years older than me, and I think that meant when I met him at 15, and I was a little bit of a wayward child, so I think God knew what he was doing by getting me a nice, solid, strong man that could tame me early on. So my parents decided to give permission rather than have me do something foolish. And I was blessed with a man who knows who he is, who has never been competitive, never felt like he needed to put me down to lift himself up.
Wow.
And so we've had 44 really great years, and he still rings my bell.
Wow. It still rings your bell after 44 years.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a serious one. Please, you've been married for 23 years. How's it been to?
Yeah, when we first met, we met and we knew each other for 2 weeks and then got engaged. which looking back now, I know.
Got engaged after 2 weeks.
I know, it seems like a crazy love thing, but we can honestly look back and say we just had the faith and we just felt God was in it. And for me, I think that's been the overriding factor, you know, where the Lord says that when God puts you together, then no person can separate it. And we just really felt faith and experienced the hand of God right from that beginning. Although I wouldn't recommend my children to do the same.
Whoa.
Unless God directs you that way. But,
This is interesting tonight. Met 2 weeks, got engaged, and there is still love in the hair after
Absolutely.
23
Absolutely.
solid years.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to start off with you tonight, Chris. Tell us about Christian single mix.
Well, Christian single mix is something that was really, it came to me as a surprise because my background has always been working with disadvantaged people, working with forgotten people groups. And then just out of a time of prayer with a friend, we, as a local church pastor, I realised that, you know, within our own churches, Christian singles can often be the forgotten people group in our churches. And that got us around to really thinking about some of the needs, you know, for Christian singles. So it really caused us to develop a Christian singles ministry, an online website, www.christiansinglemix.com, which really takes a very holistic and rounded approach to create a safe environment for Christian singles to come together. Wow. With an emphasis really on the mix first, so mixing for fellowship. And then out of that, opportunity for relationship to form, but from a far more rounded perspective.
Is it like a dating site?
It's a lot more than a dating site. There is opportunity for people to you know, meet life partners on there, and that is a factor in it. But really from a far more rounded place that really says, you know, that you're whole, you're not half a person waiting to meet your other half, but actually the desire of the Lord is that for each one of us, that, you know, his desire is that we're made whole. And so for really, you know, out of that holistic place in the Lord, to meet our partner from that. So very much not waiting to meet your other half, but actually, you know, one whole person meets another whole person, and out of that something beautiful can form.
Brilliant.
But also a place for, you know, authentic community for Christian singles that is far more than just dating. But we'd like to, you know, encourage the viewers tonight to just check it out, have a look, catch the heart behind it. You're very welcome to do that. We do have a free promo code for viewers to go to the site and use that. It's a 1 month free promo, promo code 1G, so ONEG on www.christiansinglemix.com. Great to go there and have a look and just join in the mix of fellowship for Christian singles.
That's wonderful, Chris. That's wonderful. Well, it's love season. Are you single and ready to mingle? Come on. The right place to go is, you know, Christian Mix. The details is there on the screen. You know, log on to Christian Mix. Be part of what God is doing, coming together with young people, singles, you know, fellowshipping together and taking it up from there to wherever level the Lord will have you take it. Single, ready to mingle, Christian Mix. Pastor Jan, well, there is this typical life situation. Two people falling in love, you know, having it great at the beginning, you know, having this feeling of love, care, and affection. Can't sleep without each other. Can't eat without each other. You know, at the thought of your partner, your heart goes pick, 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 pick. And a few years down the line, the story is something else. Why this? Why is the struggle to keep love alive?
Okay. I'm not blaming men, okay?
Okay, it's not a blame game tonight.
Right. But women are responders, men are button pushers. So because marriage is a representation of Christ and the church, we love him because he first loved us. Men love their wives. Now, when a man is chasing, then he spends a lot of attention, gives a lot of attention, spends a lot of time, actually, and money, but effort into chasing her. And the Bible says in Ephesians, it's quoting from Genesis, where it says, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife. And that word cleave means to catch by pursuit.
Wow.
In other words, to chase after. Well, there's nowhere that tells you to stop.
Ah, that's the message tonight. Know where you told to stop as a man.
So the thing is, if you want the same results in your relationship as you had at the beginning, guys, then chase her because she's an expert at getting caught. So men need to chase their wives just like they did when they were dating. And I mean, on a, you know, I mean, that is serious, but on a practical note, when you first get married, don't let it die. Have date nights. Spend time together. Make it, you know, routine gets in the way. It's easy for all of us to get into a situation where life gets in the way. Ministry gets in the way. But your relationship has to be of paramount importance. So a big key, I'll tell you a big key, never let the issue be more important than the relationship.
Wow.
Argue, but don't get into strife.
That's a serious start for us tonight. Guys, keep chasing.
Absolutely.
And don't let any issue get in the place of your relationship. Wow, that's a serious one tonight. Now, quiz. Is love a verb or a noun? Must love be worked out?
Absolutely, I think it can be both. I think we really need to grasp hold of delight in keeping the delight alive. You know, when Proverbs talk about delighting yourself in the wife of your youth, not just delighting yourself in the mother of your children, but really just delighting yourself in the wife of your youth, and really keeping that delight alive, I think. And, you know, the phrase, the 7-year itch, I think when love grows stale, it's keeping that Sabbath principle alive in your marriage as well. A time of spontaneous growth, a time of allowing just to cultivate, and you know, when you're going through the processes and things can just grow a little bit stale, just having those times of spontaneity, delight and romance again just kind of keeps things fresh and recreates for another season.
Wow, God bless you. Back to you, Pastor Jen. Like you said, men should keep chasing after their partners, not just chasing for you to get her. Even when she's there, you still have to keep chasing, you know, keep the chasing game on. Now the big question tonight is, how do we keep love alive in a relationship? I want to believe it's not just a one-way thing, not just the man doing the chase. Well, it's like you said, it's paramount that the man keeps the chasing on. But I want to believe the woman has got part to play as well. So how do we practically, in a relationship, keep love alive?
I believe you've got to recognize that men and women are different.
Yeah.
And we have different needs. And understand that those needs need to be met. And it's not all one-sided. A woman's needs are much more emotional. A man's needs are much more sexual, generally. But God kind of made us lopsided, really. You know, I did ask him once why he didn't kind of make us 50-50, you know. And really, I felt that the answer that the Lord showed me was that it only works God's way. See, because we're so different, I have to yield to my husband to meet his desires. He has to yield to me to meet my desires. So love is sacrificial in that respect. But it only works if both people are working it out. It can't all be one way. It's got to be both of us looking to do the best. It's not a contest. It's not, I want to have my way. It's rather a question of, how can I minister to my wife? How can I minister to my husband? And give them the best. And if we always look that way, which is what Christ does, then, you know, that it's not easy.
Wow.
I'm not pretending it's easy.
It's not been a very easy ride over 44 years.
You know, we've had opportunities to quit. But,
Wow. At
I
some
think-
point you felt like,
Yeah.
you know what, it's over.
Everyone does, but you know, we just made the decision when we were first married. We weren't believers. Well, he wasn't a believer. I believed. I just wasn't serving the Lord. But I did believe in the sanctity of marriage, and I told him, even at 16, I said, if you better be very sure before you marry me,
Wow.
because I don't believe in divorce, and so I won't give you a divorce.
Wow.
So we need to know this is forever. And he said, okay, that's fine by me. So we made the decision that we would work through everything. And that's one big key. Don't quit. Quitters can't win. You know, you don't quit. Make the decision to work through everything. Talk about everything. And, you know, even if you shout at each other, listen, for goodness sake, that's better than not talking. You're not going to agree on everything. You know, you're not clones. You don't lose yourself when you get married. You're two individual people
Trying to
coming
come
together to make a new person. But you still don't lose you. So give each other the freedom to be the person you are, whether you're together or not. Somebody once said something to me which, at first I was a little kind of put out by it. They said, I've realised why you have such a successful marriage. And I think at that time we'd been married about 30 years. And I said, oh, why? And she said, because you don't need one another. And I was like, what do you mean you don't need one another? And she said, no, you're together because you want to be, not because you need each other. And I thought that was really insightful.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that, Pastor Jan, saying it's easy for your marriage to work because you don't need each other. Well, there is this belief of one partner complementing another, which some people think it's a big key in two people being together. We want to be together because we complement each other. Not you saying you're able to, you know, work your marriage out because you don't need each other. Can you please elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I think that...
Are you saying your partner does not complement you in any way?
Not at all. We do complement each other. We're very different. We're very different. We're very different in a lot of ways. We're we're not alike at all. And that's great because, you know, he has his interests, I have mine. But of course we complement each other in that, and that's the key. It's complementing rather than filling a void. I am completely complete in Christ. I'm a whole person.
You are not.
If I lost my husband today, I would be devastated because I love him and we have fun together and we understand each other, we can finish each other's sentences, but I would not want to follow him in that respect. I would live on because Christ is my all in all. And he would do the same. I don't need him to be a whole person. I'm with him because I love him and I like being with him. I like spending time with him. We respect each other, and he looks after me as well. When I get home tonight, you'll have Misaka waiting for me.
Bless you, Pastor. That's a brilliant one. Yeah, Chris, Pastor John said love must be worked out. You said love must be worked out.
Yes.
She's of the opinion that you should make up your mind as partners to weather storms. Now, how easy has it been for you in your own relationship to weather the storms of life that has come your way? I want to believe there has been, like she said, there must have been one point or the other where you felt like, you know what, go your way, let me go my way. How have you been able to weather storm in your relationship and keeping your love alive?
Yeah, I mean, every marriage, I think as we live in a broken world, there will be pressure points. But I really do just believe, going back to what has already been said, I think in the power of the vow and just saying those words, I will, it's just so powerful. And so for every pressure point in our marriage, I think for us, separating was never really a consideration. Yeah, there's been challenges, but we've really tried to walk through hand in hand and with our differences. I think has already been expressed really. I think that oneness isn't always uniformity. In fact, it's not uniformity. It's not always two peas in a pod. and something that complementary mix really enhances the marriage so wonderfully. But I think there's something about just walking hand in hand, you know, literally walking hand in hand. We still do sometimes. We try to do that when we go out shopping sometimes. We walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
I hold
We
my
do
wife's
too.
hand, because if I let go, I know she's going to shop. So we walk hand in hand.
That's what my husband would say. That's so true, though. We do the same. We still walk hand in hand.
yes.
Wow.
And I remember a few years ago, we were together somewhere, I don't recall where, and someone said, "Oh, are you newlyweds?" And we just laughed
Yes,
because, you
yes,
know, we've been
yes.
married for so
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
But, you know, it really is true that you've got to work it through. You've got to work at it. And remember that your relationship is still going to be there after the kids are grown.
That's it. I was gonna
Yes.
come to that. That's my next question for Pastor Jan. I was gonna ask you that it's been noticed that having children, you know, have a negative impact on marriage, because then the woman tends to shift all her attention over to the children, neglecting our partner. How have you been able to manage these over the years? You've got kids, you're a grandma.
Yeah.
How have you been able to cope
I
with
am.
this?
We made the decision. We just made the decision when we first got married. What we did, we sat down and we talked about stuff. We talked about how we were going to raise our kids. We talked about things that, for example, we agreed that we would never disagree about the children in front of the children.
Wow.
So if one of us made a decision, even if we disagreed with it, we would back them and then discuss it afterwards. That was something that we agreed, that was what we would do. The other thing we agreed was that the children would never be a priority above our relationship. Now, get that in perspective. Obviously, when a child is born, there's a lot of attention you have to give the child, and you know, I mean, any new mum is out there going, "Hey, hold on, I don't have time for anything after I finish feeding and all the rest of it." I'm not talking about those times. That's times. There are times when a child needs your total attention, and you know, and husbands understand that. They should understand that, but you still have to recognise that. That he is your husband and he has husband's needs. He doesn't just become a daddy. And so we made that decision. We decided that one day our children were going to leave. So their time in our lives was temporary. And our job was to raise them. And we felt the best way to raise them was to show them what it was to live as a loving couple.
Wow.
And so we worked at that. We intended that, and I believe that our children grew up understanding that Mummy and Daddy love one another.
Wow.
They love us, but they love one another. And we also made time, and I go to a lot of homes, and you know, I might be treading on a few toes here, so you've got to love me, okay? You've got to love me. I've got a lot of homes where children are still up at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. That is not good for marriage.
Wow.
Children should be in bed. They should have a set bedtime and be in bed so that you have time for one another.
Wow.
If you don't set aside that time for one another, you know, my children, they would say, "Mummy, I'm not tired." I say, "Well, go to bed and read for a little while. This is Mummy and Daddy's time."
Wow.
And that is how you keep it alive, even if you're just sitting watching TV together. Without the children. Children have their time, and then you need your time. And if I've upset you, I'm sorry, but that's godly.
Okay.
I'm not sorry, really.
That's Pastor Jan for you tonight. Chris, how have you been able to cope with your wife? You've got kids, I believe.
Yes, we're just at that stage now. Our son's 22, daughter's 19, so we're realising that we kind of need to keep talking sometimes when the children are out, and it's just the two of us. But coming from a Greek background, I feel sometimes the umbrella term love doesn't, you know, fully give full expression to what God really wants to express through that. So a couple of Greek terms. The Bible talks about the agape love of God, which is, you know, the love of Christ. But there are also the terms filial love, which means friendship love. So keeping the friendship alive
good.
between ourselves as partners. And also a word, this is the point where my children will probably put their fingers in their ears, but erodas, which is the aspect of physical love.
Yeah.
And so for me, in a successful marriage, I think we need all of those aspects.
Absolutely.
You know, undergirded with the agape love of Christ in all things, the selfless love of Christ to one another. But also those other aspects of love are so important. Friendship love, but also the physical attraction of love. And really working at that and just keeping that side of things really fresh and alive as well.
Okay, before we go away from this kids' issue tonight, Pastor Jan, there is this, well, I want to believe there is this thing going on among troubled marriages. At a point, the partners feel they should stay together because of the children, because their marriage is not working. Things is not the way it should be between them. They are but struggling, keeping love alive between each other. But then they've got kids, their kids are still young, and they're thinking, okay, well, if not for nothing, let's stay together for these kids. What will you say to that?
I think it's a tough one, because if the marriage is totally broken down and there's a lot of strife in the home, I think that could affect the children adversely.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes it's better to separate and be friends and be parents rather than be, you know, unfortunately, in my experience, I don't know about you, Chris, but in my experience, people don't come for help until it's too late. They don't come for counselling
until it's too late.
When the problems begin to arise, when the cracks start to appear, they don't come for counselling then. They wait until they're ready to kill each other. And really, often, you know, I've had families come to me, couples come to me for counsel, and the first question I ask them is, do you want this marriage to work? To both of them. And unless they both say yes. You're fighting a losing battle. Because sometimes at that point they're saying, no, I just want out of this. You know, before I kill her or whatever. You know, and at that point you really just got to help them to kind of get through that process. Go for help. You know, if your pastors are not you know, in that position, then look for Christian marriage counsellors. Go and get some good counselling. Don't wait until it's a done deal. That's too late. You need to be talking about getting help. And it's no good one partner going to get counsel. That's a waste of time. I teach on relationships and I hate it when they say, oh, come and teach a women's group on no, I don't want to do that. Because what's the point of teaching women?
Exactly.
If the men don't know, what's the point of teaching men if the women don't know? Always teach a mixed group, because then they both get it. So, you know, do go for help. Sometimes, but, you know, I'm a firm believer that God does not want someone to be in a violent relationship. I think if there's violence in the home, get out. You know, until it's dealt with. And it can be dealt with, but you know, until you face the fact God does not want any woman to be a punching bag. I do believe that. Spiritual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, that's not godly. And, you know, rather get them out of the situation than deal with the issues, you know. I really believe that. I believe, you know, there shouldn't be, that's not how God intended marriage to be.
So you shouldn't struggle to keep married together because of kids?
I don't think that's a good reason to keep marriage together. I think kids can be damaged in a home, but I don't think it's a good reason to separate either. You know?
It's not a good reason to separate. It's not a good reason to stay in it.
Yeah, you know, you've got to stay together because you believe that this is right.
This is right for us.
And you've got to have the relationship. You can't stay together and be platonic friends, right? You know, you've got to love one another. Chris already mentioned, I love the way you pronounce that. I'm going to have to learn how to get this great.
It's very pastoral.
First time I've ever heard, you know, normally it's agape, right? That's how we say it. Say it again, Chris.
Agape.
Agape. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever known how to say it. And, you know, unless that is great, that's the love. And, you know, the filial love is the attraction, it's the friendship, but it's the love that has hooks. Right?
Yes, yes.
It's a love that says, I will love you as long as you're meeting my needs, as long as I like you. You know, it's kind of, I love you. You know, I remember when my daughter was little, she would come in and say, I'm not friends with so-and-so anymore because she's friends with this one. And that's got kind of conditions. And that's, the romantic love comes out of that, actually, because it's like, you know, oh, he makes me feel good, so I love him. But that's not what keeps you going through the socks under the bed and the toothpaste stops off, you know. That is the love, right, isn't it?
Yes,
You know?
Oh, good girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm loving this tonight. Trust me, I am loving this.
Yes.
I'm going to go on a break. We're going on a short break. When we return, we'll continue tonight with how to keep love alive. If you want to advertise with us, please get in touch with us. The number to call will be on the screen. Get in touch with us, advertise your business with us, let the world get to know what you're doing. We are the platform you need to promote your business. I'll see you after this break. Catch up on our programs on www.questionsintheart.com. And like I said, you want to advertise your business with us? Please get in touch. The number to call is on the screen. If you log on our website, our store is there. We've got books that will bless you. We've got music that will bless you. You know, be a part of what God is using this program to do. Log on, check the store, pick 1 or 2 materials that will bless and educate your lives. Tonight, it's been a serious talk on how to keep love alive, and Pastor Jan has been giving it to us raw. I am loving it. Well, tonight, Chris, I'm going to ask you this question.
Yes.
Then I'll allow Pastor Jan to wrap up on it. What would you say are love killers in a relationship? You want to agree with me that a relationship does not just die. What are these love killers? I'm asking you first because you're a man.
Yeah. I think just allowing a staleness in a relationship to creep up on you, really, without realizing it. And then I think has already been expressed tonight, sometimes when it can feel too late. So I referred to it briefly earlier. I think keeping that spontaneity alive in a relationship, a freshness, really understanding the need to recreate, reinvigorate, just doing some silly things together sometimes, just keeping that attraction going. And when we lose that, when we lose the sense of fun in relationship, when things become mundane, then it can be a real challenge. So really keeping that fresh, just the silly things sometimes, just, you know, tell your partner sometimes, just like a paper clip to a magnet, I'm attracted to you. I still want to be attracted to you. And just keeping it fresh, the little things, just the little gestures, the little thoughtful things. Just as you romance, just as you did delight yourself in the partner of your youth when you first met, keeping that.
So when those things are missing, then you can be sure love will be out of the window. Love grows cold. We need to work at it. Okay, Pastor Jan, what are love killers?
Staying up to wash the kitchen floor when really you should be in bed with your husband. That'll kill it. Yeah. Having a headache too often. You've got to. It was mentioned, intimacy, physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is very important to a marriage, very important to a man anyway, but very important to a woman. Just sitting and having a cuddle, go away for a weekend, leave the kids with somebody and go and have a night in a hotel. We do that all the time. We just go away and spend a night in a hotel. We love going to spend a night in a hotel. My husband does, because, you know, he loves having a night in a hotel. Just little things like I remember once he came home and gave me a flower, and he pinched it out one of the corporation gardens, but on the way home, you know. But, you know, he bought me this flower, it was wilted and everything, but, you know, just silly things. But thoughtful things, thinking about one another, but having fun. You don't have to stop having fun because you're married, you know. Having fun together and having fun with the children as well. But being a family, and taking time. You've got to have dates, go on dates, you know, get a babysitter and go on a date. You've got to work at it. You've got to still recognize that you're individual people. Take time to tell each other about the day. And, you know, ladies, men are headliners. They don't want to hear all the details. Guys, women are details. She wants to know everything.
You can say that again. You can say that again. Men don't want details.
No.
Just go straight to your point. Ladies, men do not need the details. But guys, women want the details. Your lady wants to know every bit of it. Wow, interesting. Okay, could something like cheating, criminality, drugs, taking each other for granted, and so on and so forth, be part of these little lumps that defiles?
Taking each other for granted, I think, you do. I mean, without doubt, you do. Because you get used to the other person doing or saying or being. And so you take for granted that they will. And to a certain degree, that kind of happens. But every now and again, you need to back up and recognize that, you're blessed. And you shouldn't take each other for granted. You should, even to say to them, you know, I know it might seem like I'm taking it for granted, but I don't. I appreciate you. Just tell each other you appreciate one another and what you do. Obviously, things like, you know, drugs and criminality, I don't know that kills love, actually. It could kill a marriage, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that still love, even with that, you know. But I guess ongoing problems always put a strain on a relationship. Ongoing issues that are not dealt with can put a strain. And so don't let an issue build up. That's why earlier when I said, don't ever let an issue become more important than the relationship, I'm saying don't let an argument become strife. Arguing's fine. We argue all the time, you know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with arguing. That's just two people expressing different opinions. But strife is when it becomes personal. Strife is when you start calling that person names for not agreeing with you. That's when it becomes strife. You can tell it's strife because if you're in the middle of it and the doorbell rings, you can't stop. You want to drag them into it. If it's an argument, you just say, oh yeah, you know, you're going up the door. That's an argument. We'll pick it up later because we're just arguing. That's like, this is black, no, that's white. That's an argument. But when you start saying, no, you're colourblind, because you don't see it the same way I do, then it builds into something personal. And that's strife. And strife will kill a marriage.
And what about cheating?
Cheating, yeah, absolutely. But then why cheat? You know? I would think that I wouldn't expect my husband to cheat. I don't think he ever has, and I don't ever expect him to, because he doesn't have to.
Wow. Wow. What have you got to say about that, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Wow.
Cheating is not right in a relationship.
No. Actually, when people cheat, when a man cheats, he's usually going outside the relationship for physical. When a woman cheats, she's going outside the relationship for affection. The sexual side is just her payment for the affection she gets. It's not because, usually, it's not because she's, you know, she's not, I mean, it obviously does happen, but generally, and I am generalising, generally a woman is looking for something she's not, you know, she's getting home. And it's usually not the sex bit that she's missing, it's the affection and the emotion, the understanding, someone who listens to her. That's a big thing for a woman. A big thing for a woman is thinking she's being listened to. And men, I know it's hard sometimes, right? But just listen.
Wow.
I think when we talk about intimacy, it's more than just sex. I think we need to be clear on that. Really,
Absolutely,
don't we?
it is. It is those little things.
Intimacy
those
is more than
talking
just
and-
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just being able to be in the same room with someone and be comfortable with them without speaking.
Wow.
You know, that is intimacy in itself. You know, I've often said that we can be in the same room and, you know, he's maybe watching TV, I'm reading or on my iPad. We're not talking, but if he got up and left, I would miss him.
Wow.
That makes sense, yeah?
Wow. That's a serious one tonight. Okay, we live in a very busy society. You know, the pursuit of making ends meet won't really give time for, like we're talking about now, proper intimacy, communication and stuff. How do we then manage to keep love alive with all these busy schedules of trying to, how important is communication in this case? How important is it for us to?
Paramount. Schedule is the operative word. Schedule. Put it in the diary. You know,
Wow.
I mean, make a date. It's an appointment. If you have to schedule, I know, and I sit with families in their homes all the time, and I know that it's sometimes very difficult to get them both together.
Yeah.
He comes home, takes care of the kids while she goes out to work. But you've got to find an hour where there's just you. And schedule it, plan it. This is our time. When my kids were teenagers, they were both in the band at church, right? And so that was Thursday night was band practice. So Thursday night was our date night.
Wow.
It was the night we set aside. We didn't do anything without it. That was our night. You know, we couldn't wait to get rid of the kids, go off to band practice, you know, because that was our night. But even if it's just an hour, start with what you've got. Make that time. If it's half an hour, it's a quarter of an hour. Make that time. Turn the phones off, turn the TV off, make that time your time to just talk and sit together, hold hands, go for a walk by the river, whatever it is that's building that relationship and sharing. You know, even if you have to converse while he's traveling home, you're traveling to work, you know. Find time to do it. If it's worth having, it's worth fighting for.
Yes. Yes. I think, Pastor Jan, the big stumbling blocks are still really finance, I think, communication and intimacy. And around the area of finance, I don't want to belittle the financial pressure points, but I often think that sometimes a lot of the things we think that we can't live without, actually we can. And sometimes it's not always worth putting yourself in such a financial stretch when actually what you really need together is just time.
And you can do things that don't cost money.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we go away to a hotel now, but we didn't always do that. You know, sometimes it would just be us having a quiet evening where we did something together. We used to play Scrabble until he beat me, and then he stopped playing me because now he can say he's the reigning champion.
Wow. Okay. So Chris has been able to talk about communication in marriage. We've got to keep our communication line alive, keep it open. Okay. Many of our viewers, especially females, are in marriage with difficult men who would, unreasonably just want to keep such a woman in such a mess. The man is so difficult to deal with and yet won't let the woman go. What will you say to this, Pastor Jan?
A lot of times I think that I wonder why they're married. I wonder why they got married in the first place. And I would, I know there's a lot of fear put on women to say, oh, if you leave him, you're in sin and all the rest of it. Well, I think you have to go back to, first of all, why did you get married? Was it God in the first place? But also, unless both parties recognize that this is an equal partnership, that God has ordained it, different but equal, and there is no one, the man is not above the woman is not above the man. There is an equality before God, and he teaches us how to treat one another. He says, submit yourselves to one another. And that means yield to one another. It doesn't mean, be beaten with a big stick. It means submit to one another. If a husband is not submitting to his wife, and she's not submitting to him, all that means is yielding. If I'm not yielding to my husband, he's not yielding to me. There's no give and take. I mean, give and take keeps the marriage alive. And if a husband is being so unreasonable and unloving, somebody said to me, how can you love a man like that? I said, from a distance.
Love from a distance. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you've both got to make it work. You've both got to want it to work. I always tell people, if you want it to work, I can teach you how. But if you don't want it to work, with the best will in the world, best will in the world, it won't.
Okay, before we go tonight, we've had marriage counselors on this show, saying it's the duty of the man to love the woman, and it's the duty of the woman to respect the wife. But I believe love should be a give and take thing. I'm going to ask you, Pastor Jan, what is it that makes you feel loved as a woman?
As a woman, the little things like being told, I love you. The words are important to a woman, to be told, I love you, just because, not for any reason, just because I love you. And little gestures that say, I love you. My husband's a very practical man. He's not a very romantic man. He's a Yorkshireman. He's a very practical man. And, he shows his love by doing things for me that I don't expect. Nice things. Well, he does things for me that I do love. He makes me breakfast in bed, which is lovely. That's how he shows his love for me. So little gestures, gestures and words. The women need the words. Flowers, chocolates, all those things.
Okay, thank you so much. Chris, what are the things that make you feel loved as a man?
Being honoured in the sense of being made not to feel inadequate, being made to feel like a man. So being honoured, an accurate understanding of honour, not kind of being put on a pedestal, but just being respected, and made to feel like a man. Really, is just very precious.
Wow. Our time is gone tonight. We've got to go. Before we go in 1 minute, you want to tell us more about Christian Single Mix?
Yeah, we believe it meets a real need in our Christian churches, a real need in the Christian community for Christian singles to have an authentic, safe community to really build a whole relationship together. So, if you are single, please do also share it with your Christian single friends. www.christiansinglemix.com, and we do have a special promo code for your friends, for all Christian singles to come and try it out. That's promo code 1G. ONE1G.
Okay. Please check that out. Check that out. Single and ready to mingle. You want to advertise with us? Log on www.questionsintheheart.com. Leave us a message. We'll get across to you, or you call on the mobile number that will be on the screen. You can get in touch with us there. We would help advertise your business. I'm sure you've been blessed, educated, and inspired tonight on how to keep your love alive. If any question, just leave them on our website or give us a call, send your text message, and then you can be sure you get your questions answered. It's such an honor having you again on Questions in the Heart, Pastor Jen.
It's always a privilege.
Chris, it's nice having you on Questions in the Heart tonight. So I see you same time, same station next week. Do all you can to keep your love alive. God bless you.